Hello, sir.
Hello there.
Can see and hear you just fine.
You're looking good. I hear you. We're good.
All right. Let's jump in. Welcome to Just Curious Media. This is Let's Talk Cobrakai. I'm Jason Connell.
And I'm Sal Rodriguez.
All right, Sal. We are back for an update.
Oh, I thought you were going to say special episode.
No, I curveballed there.
You did. I was getting ready for special episode because we've been having a lot of special episodes lately.
It's so special, but not tonight. It's special, but it's an update.
Oh, wow.
And I'll tell you what it is.
Yes.
It's all new to you. Well, let's go back in the Wayback Machine. Back in February, 16th to be exact, we recorded a really cool episode, and that was Better Off Dead 1985 Scenes with Yuji Okumoto.
Nice. Yeah.
And it was great. We were delving into an older movie, a movie in which Yuji had a great, not the scene, he had a great role in, and he had memorable scenes in that movie.
Yes.
You haven't seen that movie.
No.
Hadn't and still have not seen that movie.
No, I'm waiting for you to give me the bootleg copy of it.
I do not have a bootleg copy. I have a legitimate copy, but it was fun to go down that rabbit hole and discuss it because it was before The Karate Kid Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, one of the early movies in his resume, filmography. It's a movie that was very close and dear to my heart growing up, not knowing him, revisiting the movie recently, rewatching the movie and going, OMG, there is Chosen in one of my favorite movies. Yeah. So we did a deep dive into that. In fact, this was a synopsis for that episode. Jason Connell and Sal Rodriguez discuss Yuji Okumoto's memorable scenes from the classic movie Better Off Dead. Nice. Now the synopsis for Better Off Dead, just to breeze through this, okay? Yes. After his girlfriend ditches him for a boorish ski jock, Lane decides that suicide is the only answer. However, his increasingly inept attempts bring him only more agony and embarrassment. It's a comedy. It's incredibly fun and hilarious at times. Memorable characters, Yuji being one of them. Yeah. And so I know you haven't seen it, but I guess I'm pumping this up because I think our fans and you would love to see it if you haven't. And if you have seen it, you'd love to revisit it knowing you know who Chosen is. Oh, yeah. But what happened that historic night that we recorded this episode was the fact that we explored his scenes. And I put 3 of them on the hit list. We did all 3. Then I actually watched the whole movie again, just, rewatch, enjoying it. And I knew something was missing even when I was editing the episode, like, oh yeah, 3 is a great number, but wait a second. He has 2 more scenes that we did not discuss.
Are they as memorable as the other scenes?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we are going to tack those on, just hit those 2, show them, hear them, but also explain the first 3 scenes as well. So you can kind of get it all here, but really it's a 1-2 punch with the original episode. So
Jason, I'm happy to be here because I think this is like a wonderful tribute to Yuji. I really do.
Exactly. Oh, and here's the poster, by the way, over my shoulder.
Let's see it.
And
he's on the poster.
On the poster.
Nice.
Right over there.
That's cool.
On the right side. Now, here's this little, for those of you on YouTube, check this out. Yeah. There is Yuji.
Nice.
That's from the last scene that he's in the movie, but I'm going to back up to the poster again.
Do we know how old he was at the time?
Yeah, see, I knew you'd throw me something like this.
I should have looked that up. I could
look it up. I don't, but he looks really young. So he looks young now, but I'm going to guess he probably would have been in his 20s. Just my early guess. Yeah. Now, quickly, I have to give credit to those of you that brought us Better Off Dead. And I'll just do the hit list real fast. Besides Yuji, the writer-director, Savage Steve Holland, also did One Crazy Summer, which also had our lead, Lane Meyer, played by John Cusack. I highly recommend that movie as well. They're not a sequel of each other, they're not, but they're very similar tone, comedy. A lot of the things are the same.
Wait, but different characters.
Different characters. Cusack's playing a different person, but it's the same. Demi Moore's in that one. It's great, but I think I prefer Better Off Dead. Nice. Now, it is John Cusack playing Lane Meyer. He was in movies just before this: Class, 16 Candles, Grandview USA, all supporting roles, little bitty roles. And then he was in The Sure Thing, Rob Reiner film, Daphne Zuniga. Great movie. He's one of the leads. So this was his next movie as a leading man, I guess. And more like in the teen movie leading man. But, Cusack's still going strong, of course. He's incredible. Whom I've met once, but that's for another day. I have met him.
Nice.
1 degree with Cusack.
1 degree of separation.
Then there's Yuji Okumoto, who plays Yi-Suk Ri. And he has a brother played by Brian Amata, who's Chinri. Now, of course, as I mentioned, this is pre The Karate Kid Part 2, and Brian Amata would go on and have a fascinating stunts career. And just 3 movies that stood out, and I think I mentioned them on the last episode too, was Big Trouble in Little China, They Live, and Escape from L.A. So he works with John Carpenter a lot.
Very cool. Very
Which
cool.
we
And
love.
you know what? Total big fan. I'm very happy for Yuji because he's on the movie poster. He's not even on the movie poster of Karate Kid 2, and he has a major antagonistic role, right?
No, you're right. Good call.
And yet he's on the movie poster for Better Off Dead. I think that's fantastic.
I do too. Fantastic. How did I not recognize it back in the day? But whatever. It happens. Well, one reason I didn't recognize it, Sal, or remember it, I remember him, I remember his role, is because it's not his voice.
Yeah.
And he's really taken on the persona of Howard Cosell from the wide world of sports, also from boxing and Monday Night Football. But Howard Cosell was, amazing. Once boxer, he just had that cadence that no one else is like him. Has been. And imitatable. So Yuji gets this role. Of the 2 brothers, the Ree brothers, he's the only one who speaks, but he speaks Howard Cosell. And he trained for it, and he got his accent down, and he had an Asian version of Howard Cosell. Everybody was cracking up. In post-production, they went and got, you know who?
Yeah. Superstar all my life growing up. I mean, he was the premier impressionist on the circuit, on every talk show. That's the great Rich Little.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And you don't even know it's Rich Little. It sounds like Howard Cosell. And it comes off great, but Yuji didn't know this until he saw the movie or learned later on. He was like, well, hey, it's their movie. He had a really good attitude about it. Sure. But if it was his voice or not, you're still getting a caricature of Howard Cosell. But It was always memorable to me. The end of the movie is like language lessons spoken from a man who knows how to ski. And I always think about that, like, oh, that was hilarious. Not remembering it was Yuji Okumoto. Anyway, great movie, hilarious stuff. He's intertwined through the movie. And what's happening is him and his brother, for no reason at all, drive around town in their little car, speakers on top of the car, and he's got a microphone doing the wide world of sports, and he does commentary, and they're always racing Lane. So
like that.
He always pops in and they race, and it's like Lane Meyer. So he goes into his stick, and then they race. So it's been going on for a while, right?
Sure. And also, Jason, I'm probably theorizing here that if you're willing to drive around with a speaker on the top of your car, you're probably doing different voices for other scenarios.
You would hope.
Well, you would hope so. I mean, if otherwise, are you just being Howard Cosell?
Well, he's got the jacket. They have the wide world of sports jackets.
Wow.
On.
Yes, they just go around exclusively as Howard Cosell. That's because they said that he learned English from watching wide world of sports. Yeah, so it's not just they weren't just picking on John Cusack. They drive around.
They race other people.
Yeah, that's hilarious. I love that.
And the brother's the driver. He's always driving. They have the gloves on. And so it's really funny. So when we talked about it on
I like when people commit to stuff. I like that.
They're committed. And when we revisited the movie, well, actually I was watching it and it popped on. And here's what happened. I didn't really finish it. I watched it, it hit a point, and I was like, get out of here. Mind blown. There is Yuji Okumoto chosen in Better Off Dead. Quickly put together an episode for us, and then spot checked the movie because oh yeah, I know he was in here. I was kind of guessing, because I remember he's in the end, he's in the middle, and he's near the beginning. Well, then I watched it the other day, right? After I edited the episode and released it, I thought, oh my gosh, he's in 2 more great scenes. So We're going to set the stage. I'm going to mention these in order. I'll talk about the ones we've already shown on the previous episodes. We're not going to show those. We'll just talk about them, but we will stop and play the ones that were missed. And here's how it goes. Of the 3 I shared already, it's like every other one. So I shared the first one, the third one, and the 5th one. So we're filling in the gaps literally here.
Nice.
Okay. So the first scene in the movie was Lane is driving his mother's station wagon, and comes across the Ree brothers in their old sedan with the mounted speaker on top, and they race. And that's the first time we see them. It's very early in the movie. And Lane mistakenly has his car in reverse, and he slams into the truck behind him. Well, the driver wants to absolutely kill Lane, and he is driving a Big Burgers truck. Now that'll come into play. I'll tell you about that later. But the driver of the truck, his name
Wait,
is
hang on. Do you say big burgers or pig burgers?
Pig. P-I-G.
Pig burgers.
Yeah, Big Burgers would make more sense, but
Yeah.
there's a whole reason for that when you watch the movie. But the driver of the truck is Rocco, and the actor is Chuck Mitchell, who played Porky in Porky's.
Oh, nice.
And he is mad as heck at Lane, and it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And because he's behind him, and here comes this kid slamming into him. So he gets out of his car and he's going to take things into his own hands, essentially.
I
Really
gotta see
funny.
those Porky's movies. Those Porky's movies were huge.
That's a whole other episode, Sal.
I gotta see that. I gotta see.
Okay, so I'm setting up the second scene.
Yeah.
And the second one I skipped last time. Lane again drives the station wagon. I'll go ahead and set the stage now, and then we'll play it. And he was just dumped by his girlfriend, which is the big theme in the movie. It's part of the synopsis. And he encounters the Ree brothers again. And they race, and he somehow hits the Pig Burgers truck again. And this time, Pig Burgers is in front of him. Same driver, Porky, Rocco, who again wants to kill him. And of course, later in the movie, I'll go ahead and give this away. Spoiler alert. Lane gets a job at Pig Burgers. And their slogan is everybody wants some. And then there's a Van Halen song and a whole sequence. So a lot of fun. Things pay off. Things pay off. So let's play that scene first.
I'm ready.
Six months and she dumps me for him. They're Stalin, just like that. 6 months.
Here they come.
Truly a sight to behold. The man beat the once great champ, now a study in moppishness. No longer the victory-hungry stallion we've raced so many times before, but a pathetic, washed-up, aged ex-champion.
All right, let's go. What are you gonna do, God?
Pig Burgers.
I'm gonna break your goddamn neck. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Oh my gosh. How good is that, Sal?
Oh, that's funny. Just the scene alone is hilarious. I gotta see this movie, man.
I'm telling you, in between, I'm going to go back to the poster.
Also, because they're playing off the inherent awkwardness of finding yourself next to somebody that you know. You ever been there? You ever been next to somebody or passing somebody?
Hey.
Oh, that's the guy I work with. Kind of weird, So
Yeah.
right away awkward, and then playing on top of that, I love it.
Well, what's funny is he winds up working for this guy, and the guy does not remember, at least we don't see this, that it was Lane that hit him twice.
Oh, he ends up working for the Porky's guy who drives the pig burger?
Yeah, he gets a job there later in the movie.
Oh, my God.
Because his dad put it in motion, so he doesn't recognize him. That guy probably thinks all teenagers are lunatics, and he hates them all. But yeah, anyway, and great sequences at the restaurant, I must say. So the third scene, which we've already shown and listened to and talked about on the last episode, but here's the quick. So we're not going to show it, but here's what happens.
Yeah.
Lane has Monique and Ricky. Monique is the girl across the street. She was in movies like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and she's staying with Ricky. She's a foreign exchange student, and Ricky was in head of the class. He's really funny. And they're in the station wagon, and they again come across the Ree brothers. But this time, Lane is explaining to his passengers, and we, the audience, learn of the origins of, Yi-Suk and why he speaks Howard Cosell and all that stuff, because they don't talk about it in these first two scenes. We're just like, well, who are these guys? What is this? So that's a great chance for us to learn. And then they race, and Lane and company wind up losing, nearly hitting a bunch of nuns, if you recall.
Oh, yeah.
And then they wind up in some water with some ducks where the road's being constructed, kind of like an episode of Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
Kind of concludes.
Yeah.
So
I love the idea, Jason, that he learned English from watching Wide World of Sports, because I'm reminded as a little boy, when I was a little boy, some of the first crushes I had, like, on grown women,
Oh yeah,
female newscasters.
there you go.
Oh my God. I had a thing for Colleen Williams. I grew up here in Los Angeles watching Colleen Williams
Yeah, I don't
on
know her.
NBC. Okay. So she was on NBC Channel 4. So recently I was at a party about a year ago. I was at a party
She was
and
there.
I saw her. She was there. Oh my
Oh,
God. My childhood grown woman crush. Now she would be about 70, 75. I mean, she was older than me.
Still looking
But I
good.
was serious. I was like, oh my God. It's like I still have a crush, even though she's like in her 70s now. She's
That's too
like
funny.
beautiful. She's beautiful.
I was at a party one time. True story, and I love that story. It reminds I have to tell a story too now.
Go
But I
ahead.
was at a party one time, true story, and there was Rebecca De Mornay.
Nice.
And this is like 15, 16 years ago. And I'm going back in my mind to Risky Business.
Nice.
And I'm trying to be cool. And I'm not trying to listen, I'm there with a date, but
Sure.
I meet her and we have this great exchange, me and a buddy, and then she walks away, or we all part ways, and it's like we are geeking out. Like, that
Wow.
is Rebecca De Mornay. So I'm texting friends, just that, we all grew up watching Risky Business, and she
Sure.
was like the it girl at the time. So
But now you're a grown man. You got to play it cool.
got to play it way cool. And I was over it, but it was just like what younger me would say, someday you're going to meet her at a party and have a really nice conversation. She was lovely. So there you have it.
Well, I
All
should
right.
hope when you were a young man, your future fantasies would have been a little more involved than just meeting her and having a conversation.
Yes, Sal, it's true. Anyway, this is the fourth scene, one we did not talk about, one of the ones that was missed, omitted, not on purpose. And here's what happens. This is great because you have a loss as far as the win-loss column for Lane versus the Ree brothers.
Yeah.
And this is when things change. This is when good luck changes and he has good fortune because there's no more station wagon. That helps a lot. And Monique helps Lane fix his Camaro. I believe it's a 1967 Camaro.
Nice.
With the help of an 80s montage. So you got to see the movie to see the montage. We're not going to do that. And then they take it out for a spin. And when they do so, Sal, there's an iconic song, one that's resonates in movies, much like Risky Business. It's actually in Risky Business. True story. It's the Muddy Waters song, Manish Boy, I'm a Man. And if you don't know it by name, you're going to know it very shortly because it's iconic. And they fire up the car. That song comes on. They encounter the Ree brothers, who this time have company. Two lady friends are in the car.
Whoa.
It's hysterical. They're all eating Chinese food, and they see Lane roll up, and then they dump the Chinese food, put on helmets, and then Lane takes off because he's in the Camaro. They don't even get off the starting line. The girls bail. They're disappointed.
Nice.
And the Ree brothers get into a fight. I mean,
Wait a second, Jason. I'm sorry, but how did you miss this the first time around?
Because I was spot checking. I had only watched the first 15 minutes and my mind was blown that there was Yuji. So unfortunately, and I just like, oh yeah, I know what happens again. And I jumped to the end. That was my bad. That was me being overwhelmed by the moment.
Yeah,
okay?
overzealous.
I was a little overzealous. I was ready to get in the studio.
Yeah.
But this one is the one. I'm
Nice.
telling you.
Oh,
It's
no,
going to take me a minute to cue it up because it's a little further in the movie. This is like,
Yeah.
so that first one, I should say, it's like 13 minutes in. Scene one, I'm sorry, now I'm all over the place, but the initial scene was like 7 minutes in. The second wreck was like 13. And then there's a gap. You don't see the Ree brothers for a while with the third one, which I just mentioned. But this one is like a minute 15 in. So we're getting later into the movie, the Camaro. This is like when Lane is starting to, change things and no longer wants to die. No longer wants to be better off dead. Okay.
That's good. It's
So,
good.
yeah, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, I like it. One thing that comes to mind is did the Reed brothers drive around looking for Lane, or they happened to come across Lane?
If we ever get Yuji on the show, we'll have to tack that onto our questions.
I like it. I love the ideas of two guys just driving around being silly with a speaker on their car. I think it's
They
hilarious.
could have had their own show.
Yeah, they could have had their own wide world of sports.
Okay. Just
And
a
I can't
second.
wait to hear the song that you're talking about, because I just saw Risky Business not so long ago.
Oh, it's so good. Sorry, it's jumping all over the place. So just bear with me, folks.
We're holding for sound.
We'll just start it here to be safe.
I got to look for
can't
where I
beat
can
him.
see Better Off Dead.
I can't.
I think all you need is a small taste of success, and you will find it suits you.
The keys to the Camaro.
When I was a young boy,
At Risky Business, the ladies kept coming in, the prostitutes into the movie, and Bronson Pinchot kept trying to close the door, and another
Oh,
lady.
yes, yes.
That was the scene.
greatest thing alive. But now I'm a man. Way past 21. You need it, baby.
Oh, by the way, I've been to the house. I mentioned that on the original episode. I visited it.
I'm a man.
So they're like, the Reed brothers are like a GTO, I think.
Yeah. That's good.
Holy cow.
There he goes. It's smoked out.
What? They just bail on him. I like it.
And there's pig burgers.
I almost felt bad for them.
Well, they beat
Especially
him
that was
every
their
other
moment.
time.
That was their moment to shine before the ladies.
That's true. So
Wait, hang on, Jason. I just want to be clear. Are you absolutely certain about the vehicles? Was he in a 67 Camaro?
well, it's a Camaro. Online, I saw a lot of mention of 67. I said, I think. Don't
Okay.
know. Don't you got to fact check that
Okay.
one.
What cars were the Reed brothers in?
Why that I don't know either. It looked like
Okay.
I just said older sedan, but you're right. Could be a GTO. Not sure. You're the
I
car
got-
guy.
Well, no. Because, one thing, I used to have a 69 Firebird.
Okay.
And the 69 Firebird was similar to the 69 Camaro, which is similar to the 67 Camaro. So
okay.
I know a little bit, and it was hard to tell from the viewpoint.
Yeah, I
I'm
get
gonna
it.
check that out again, and I'm gonna see what those cars are. Yeah, I do enjoy cars, especially car history and cinema.
Maybe there's a toy, collectible for
There
Better Off
could
Dead.
be. Nostalgia is huge right now. The fact that you and I would theorize that one day they're gonna have a Better Off Dead vehicle could absolutely happen.
That's crazy. Well, I did say this during that scene that I have been to that house before, which is at 1636 Virginia Avenue in Glendale, California. You know the
Oh,
area
nice.
very well.
Oh yeah, I love Glendale.
And I did look at the house. I took a photo. I had Nico with me, and I only lived at the time when I drove over there 15 minutes away. And it looked exactly the same. There was no car in the front yard because half the movie or more so, the Camaro is covered in a car cover, cocooning at the end of the lawn. That wasn't there. But the basketball goal, well, I guess there was a basketball goal. I put it on my social media years ago, but really cool. So this, and you know, they don't call it Glendale. They call it like Greendale in the movie, which is great.
I like that though, because it's a tongue-in-cheek
It's
tip
very
of the hat.
tongue-in-cheek.
A tongue-in-cheek tip of the
hat.
hat. I like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you get no tip of the hat, right?
No,
They
none.
just change the name of the city.
And the zip code 91202, just for those curious about that.
Yeah, that's
So-
speaking of, when you see a zip code that starts with a 9, I think that implies LA County at least.
East Coast earlier numbers, as I've learned living
Oh, yeah.
here. Like,
Oh,
oh,
yeah.
wow, look at us. We got
Yeah.
2s and 1s.
Zip code 3.
Yeah. Well, there's 5 digits, but all right. So the scene that we don't have now, we'll talk about so this is cool because this really was something. Yeah, I'm sorry that these two were missing, but hey, we have a second episode out of this. We've milked a second episode, Sal. But this is the turning point. This scene 4 was because they now respect Lane. Lane smoked them, and even if they got their act together, he's got a better car. And maybe they raced back in the day when the Camaro was first there, and they're like, "Hey, now he's in a station wagon." There's a side story that we'll never know unless we get inside information. But the last scene with the Ree brothers, Yuji in particular, was at the very end of the movie. No car racing. Lane does win a ski race, so there is a race, and spoiler alert, and Yisuk and Chen show up at the finish line as Yisuk interviews Lane Howard Cosell style, which I mentioned earlier, but it's classic. You know, he's there and Lane's excited, but he wants to wrap up and go chase Monique down because she's getting pulled away by Ricky and his mom. So it's really funny. And these guys just pop up out of nowhere, and it's always such comedy relief. I mean, really, Yuji kills it. And he's definitely, you know, the meteor role of the two. He's speaking, he's very charismatic, and you could tell, like, this guy, I'm sure this role helped him get the Karate Kid Part 2. It didn't hurt.
Yeah. Well, you got to be on people's radar.
You have to be.
This role obviously did that for him. I
This
really
role
love
right here.
Yeah, he looks great. I love happy endings, especially in a comedy, because it just adds to the happiness, right? Comedies in the end should, you know, give us a feeling of lightheartedness.
Yeah.
And when you walk away with a happy ending, I'm reminded of one of my favorite movies of all time, Bugsy Malone.
Oh,
It has that happy
give
ending.
a little love and it all
comes back to you.
You
Da, 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 da. So I love happy
Jodie
endings. And I love
Foster,
that.
Scott Baio. Yeah.
And unfortunately, if you follow the trail of Bugsy Malone, there's done some documentaries on it. Some of them had some tragic endings, unfortunately. But yeah, Scott Baio, Jodie Foster, fantastic. Happy ending,
Scott
love it. And this
Baio
has a happy ending.
and directed him in a video for Walmart way back when. True story.
We're 2 degrees. I'm 2 degrees separation from Scott Baio through you.
This is great.
Nice.
And then
Wait.
away from Jodie Foster.
And Jodie Foster, are you? Oh wait,
No.
oh, then that makes you then 2 degrees from Jodie Foster.
Yeah, and
nice.
you're 3.
Oh, I'm 3. I like it.
Anyway, amazing job. This is really about celebrating Yuji Okumoto, who we have re-embraced because of his role as chosen on Cobra Kai, not his role as of chosen in the Karate Kid Part 2.
Wait,
Although
Jason, I'm sorry. Please, I have to stop you just in there because I want to make sure that I mention this because we may be visiting this at some point on Let's Talk Cobra Kai. For the first time, we will be receiving, I think our show is going to get us a review sample, a chosen action figure. And this is from his appearance in Cobra Kai. It's not necessarily the Karate Kid 2 chosen. Present day chosen, fully articulated action figure brought to us by Diamond Select. This is historic. And talk about more tip of the hat and homage to Yuji.
Yeah.
Now he's going to get an awesome action figure.
That's why they call it breaking news. You just broke right in there. And
I did. I wanted to make sure that I said that. I didn't want to forget.
I
didn't want to say goodnight without saying that.
No, I wasn't about to say goodnight, but I appreciate that. That's amazing. He deserves it. To my point, he deserves it. They rehabilitated him in such a way that he could have his own show. I mean, there's a lot of things, speculation going to happen. Who knows? I am so pro-chosen. He brings Miyagi, the Miyagi verse. Really, he speaks for us. He gives us Mr. Miyagi. We've lost him. And he's kind of related to the character from the Karate Kid Part 2 just because it's his physical person. But he's really, morphed into something that we all are, getting behind. And so it's great to see him here. Here he is right here. This is him from scene 5, by the way, as the interview, the Howard Cosell at the end of the movie. Because he's not in the car. He's got the earmuffs on. And look at that look. He's just got so much charisma.
Yeah. And so young. So young.
Lane Meyer, a man who knows how to ski. And it's just
You're good
great.
at voices. You're good at voices.
I need to work on my Cosell.
They if they didn't want to afford Rich Little, they could have got Jason Connell
on
to
the
do
cheap.
that voice.
I was like a teenager.
Worked for half of what Rich Little.
Yeah, just let me on the set. I just want to see some things. Anyway, so it was a fun deep dive. It was an update episode, but it was filling in the gaps. I almost called it volume 2 to volume 1, but that wasn't the intent. I just happened to see like, oh my gosh, I need to do these 2 scenes that I missed. And I did write a disclaimer on there, but it's like, that's not good enough. We had to delve back in, and now you're more inspired, Sal, to watch Better Off Dead. Hopefully
Man.
our fans are as well. I don't know where you can find it. I bought it on Apple for like $5. There's so many sales that they're popping up, $4.99. So I own it now, my collection. I can revisit it anytime I want. And this episode, both of them, really brings to mind that we can do more like this. And so
Yep.
here's something that's on my hit list.
Yes.
Because I recently watched Cocktail again, the
Yeah.
1988 Tom Cruise movie. Great movie, so much fun. Well, saw it in the theater back in the day. Elizabeth Shue is in the movie. She's the love interest. And
Oh.
when I watched it now, years later, not since it came out, but a good, post Cobra Kai. So I'm watching it going, wow, Elizabeth Shue's character, Jordan Mooney, I'm telling you, Sal, is very similar to Allie Mills.
Really?
Like it could even be just connected. It's not the same name, but it's Allie, she's got Allie in her, and Jordan is very similar. Both rich girls, waspy parents,
Yeah.
look down on the guy that they're with, and just the way she carries herself, good natured. Like, I'm really watching it going, wow, there's a lot of Allie Mills in her. And then there's even a scene when she takes Tom Cruise down when they're in Jamaica, like a karate move. And I was like, oh, that's it, on the
Whoa.
sand. So I think we should
Oh,
delve
wow.
into that, or at
Nice.
least explore that. Not to mention Tom Cruise and Ralphmacchio, they're connected through The Outsiders,
Wow.
which is connected back to me because it was in Tulsa,
Yeah.
Oklahoma.
I
So
I
a
know
lot to
I know
explore there.
Just Curious Media is going to be exploring Outsiders at some point. It's just inevitable.
I totally agree. Well, Sal, it was great to come back and do the update episode. I think the update episode may be longer than the original, but it was fun nonetheless. And I think we should steal a play out of the Let's Talk Movies playbook, if you will. So without further ado, please enjoy
Better Off Dead.
and Yuji Okumoto's performance. So thank you so much for listening, and please be sure to subscribe to the Let's Talk Cobra Kai podcast and the Let's Talk Cobra Kai YouTube live channel. You can also really help us by giving the show a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast.
And for all you listeners that enjoy sharing your thoughts, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, send us a direct message, or post a comment on any Let's Talk Cobra Kai social media platform.
Look at this.
Nice.
We also highly recommend checking out our other podcast and visiting justcuriousmedia.com.
No mercy.
Great job.